episode of Mind Over Masculinity, the podcast where we challenge the old rules of manhood and embrace the new paths to the strength, resilience, and the emotional well being. I'm your host, Avik, and today we are talking about a topic that every man needs to hear. It's the power of strength training, faith, and the sustainable fitness for both mind and the body. Yes. And joining me is a man who doesn't just talk the talk, he lived it for over 30 years. Yes. And he is a best selling author, a pastor, a Brazilian Jiu Jitsu black belt, and a fitness coach who's trained everyone from athletes to CEOs to everyday guys trying to feel better and age strong. So his book, The Gospel of Fitness, has been a game changer, I would say, cutting through all the fads to bring simple, effective wisdom to getting and staying strong. Yeah. So please help me welcome Steve McKinney. So welcome to the show, Steve.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. I think it's always good to be here, and I can't wait to talk about this subject. And I can't wait to encourage some men to look at life differently and understand what happens as you age and how important it is to stay mentally healthy, spiritually healthy, and physically healthy in the middle of it all.
Exactly, Steve. And I'm really, really honored to have you here today. And starting with, definitely, I'd love to start with your book, The Gospel of Fitness. That's
Absolutely.
such, yeah, that's such a powerful title, I would say. And uh, uh, I mean, this is for you. I mean, why did you choose the word gospel? I mean, what
I love it.
message?
It's a
Yeah.
great question. It's a great question. So I love having a subversive kind of title where it creates the question that you just asked. Why choose that particular name? Because
Mm,
people will ask me, hey, is it gospel or is it fitness? And my answer is
mm,
yes. Yes, it's both. And so here's the thing. The gospel means good news. It means good
yeah.
news in a spiritual sense, but in a physical sense as well. And I think here's what we're dealing with. What we're dealing with as men is we're trying to cut through all the nonsense that's out there on the internet when it comes to trying to stay healthy. And so having good news in the middle of that is so important. For example, as people begin to age, as men begin to age, they start going on the internet like, hey, I don't feel as good as I used to. I need to take testosterone. I need to do this. I
Yeah.
need to do that. And my thing is very, very simple. Those things are fine after you've tried everything else. So lifting weights properly is really important and trying to increase the strength that you lost as you age. And this hits us at about
Mm,
age 35. The problem is, the bad news is when you go looking on the internet for help, it's overwhelming. There's just too much information. The good news is, if with my book, I've cut through all that. I
yeah.
show people exactly what to do and how to do it in a very short period of time. I've been doing this for over 35 years, so I know how it works. For example, I was in the gym today and I had a little break. I had a few cancels from clients, and I just did a short workout. But my goal today was just to try to get a little bit stronger than I was the last time I worked out. So I got a really good workout in. It didn't take me long. My joints don't hurt because that's another bad news thing. You know, people throwing weights around and jumping on boxes and all the things that all the experts say, hey, you have to do this, and you really don't. What you have to do is you train properly and you make sure that you train your muscles and save your joints. And so the reason for the word gospel is the definition of gospel is good news. And so I want good news with fitness. I don't want it to be a part-time job where you're working out 5 days a week, an hour at a time.
Mm.
I want it to, you get in, you get out, and you go on your way. Does that make sense?
Exactly, perfectly, I would say. And wow, yeah, exactly. This thing happens, and uh, so with this, definitely, I have one thing. I mean, do you think the fitness is a form of ministry itself, like especially for men who uh how to put, like, who might be struggling with their health, confidence, purpose? What do you have to say on
Oh,
this?
there's no question about it. So, the thing that happens, and I'll give you kind of some underlying ideas. So, I developed a system of fitness called it's called the W approach to fitness, and I explain it
Okay.
in this book in detail. But the three W's are this: they're weight training, walking, and watching your diet. Now, weight training is super important because what weight training does, if you're not feeling well, if you what happens is really what happens, the number one thing when you're not feeling, when you don't have as much energy, you're losing strength. And when you lose strength, then you gain body fat. And now you don't breathe as well. And now your energy levels are lower. So all those things figure in. So the number one thing that I do is I show people how to regain that strength and to do it within a
Mhm.
short period of time and to do it safely. Once that happens, what you'll notice is you'll notice that you feel better. I think when I get a
Yeah.
client in and I start training them, and I always start them off with like, and I do this in the book, I start people off with 3 days a week and then I reduced to 2 days a week, and I only do
Okay.
15-minute workouts, but I'll explain that in a second and why I do that. But what happens is they'll come and they'll start working out after about 3 or 4 weeks of training. Here's what they'll tell me. They'll go, "Oh my gosh, I feel so much better. I wanna work out more." And I'm like, "No,
Yeah.
the reason that you feel better is you're not working out more. So what I want you to do is I want you to continue to work out exactly the way that I describe it, and then use that good feeling, use that energy to do the things that you enjoy. Don't waste your energy in the gym. We want to build energy in the gym. We want to build that muscle. And I think I'll give you a little
Mm.
science behind the 15-minute workout and how I approach it. So
Sure.
what I do in the middle of it, I do what's called time under tension or time under load. And I do very slow and controlled movements. So when I do those slow movements, the muscle is under tension for a period of time. And I try to go 60 to 90 seconds with that tension. But behind the scenes, here's what's going on. You have four different types of muscle fibers. They're called slow oxidative, fast
Mm.
oxidative, fast oxidative glycolytic, and fast glycolytic. Now, what happens is those muscle fiber types, they fatigue in what's called sequential order, meaning when I
Okay.
start the set, this one fatigues, then the next one fatigues, then the next one fatigues, and we're trying to get to that fourth muscle bundle. This are you with me? Is that
Exactly.
okay?
Yes.
So, but the thing is, as long as we keep that muscle under tension the whole time, those three muscle fiber types will fatigue properly. And then we get to that fourth muscle fiber type. If you let the tension go, then we have to start all the way over. So that's where we
Mm.
keep tension the whole time. But the fourth muscle fiber type takes anywhere from 2 to 20 seconds to get stimulated. But here's what's interesting, it's the thickest muscle fiber type, it's got the most muscle bundles, and that's what we have to get into, but it also takes anywhere
Yeah.
from 4 to 10 days to recover. That's why the workout can be short and it can be infrequent, because if you train too long or too hard, it actually is detrimental rather than beneficial. So that's how I started off. The second thing, and the second W in the system, is walking, and I just
Mhm.
suggest a good 30-minute walk every day. Right after dinner is best because most people like to go from dinner to the couch and eat more food. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, just have dinner and take a walk. But when you go outside to take your walk, look at this beautiful thing we call nature. Look at the trees, the color of the trees. Enjoy the process that we have. And
Mhm.
that's super important for your mental health. And then when it comes to diet, quality protein is important, and watching how much food you eat is important. So putting all those things together, giving it a couple of months, and the next thing you know, you're going to feel better. In the book, what I do is I do an 8-week program. You can have a home workout where you just use dumbbells, or you can go
Okay.
to the gym and do it that way. So all those things are integrated into our whole health, our mind, or physical and emotional, spiritual health. So that's how I approach it, and that's why it works so well.
Amazing. That really resonates, Steve, I have to say, because and also I really love that. I mean, you mentioned, like, generally what happens is after dinner, okay, let's go to the couch, let's scroll phone, or maybe if someone into PS or television, whatever. But I really love what you mentioned. Like you go to go outside, maybe you stay in third or fourth story building, you just come down, take a walk, watch nature, feel the nature. That's really great for amazing. I mean, that's really really great for mental health. And I have to say this because May is the mental health month, and uh, we definitely need to focus on mental health as well for sure. And thank you so much for sharing this. And
No, you're right. And I think here's another thing too. When
Mhm,
like most people, what happens in their mind is like, for example, right now, you and I are in the moment. We're having a great conversation. A lot of times with people, what they'll do is they're going to be thinking about what's coming next. What do I have to do next? They're rarely in the moment. And one of the things I talk
mhm,
about when you're working out is to stay focused on what you're doing. That creates mental health. That keeps you, it's kind of just this moment where I'm like, I'm focused on what's important right now. And I'm not thinking off into the future what I have to do next. That lowers our stress level. And it is so very important to do. So that's where the mental health comes in that aspect. And it really does work well.
mm. Exactly. I really love that. And the next thing is, you have trained CEOs, athletes, pastors, so you name it. I mean, it's a huge, but for the average guy, uh, like me,
Uh-huh.
any average guy. So for the average guy who is listening right now, who feels overwhelmed or like it's too late to start for me. I mean, this kind of thinking. So what's the first step towards building strength? What do you suggest to them?
So the first thing, obviously, you got to get the book and look at like the concepts because I illustrate every single workout. But here's the next thing: you have to believe that it's going to work for you. And the problem most people have is, I've tried this before, I've tried this before, I've tried this
Mm,
before, and nothing works. The reason is you don't have a particular plan or a particular program. I outline all of those things and I tell people why you struggle so much. I think here's what I've learned, even with corporate CEOs, with
mm,
high level trainers, with or high level people with positions, even with average people. What people
true.
do is they spend the first half of their life building their wealth, but neglecting their health. And then they spend
Exactly.
the last half of their life spending their wealth to try to regain their health. My
So
th
true.
it's just true. And so my thing is this: balance it out. Live with some
Mm,
balance. As far as when people make money, here's the one thing that I've noticed with people who have a lot of money. 'Cause I'll
mm,
always tell them this, I'm like, "Hey, when you think about how much more money it is that's gonna make you happy," everyone has the same answer, just a little bit more. It's never enough. And so what you have to do is you have to find that balance on, "Hey, this is how much work I can do, but I also wanna enjoy what I'm doing for the rest of my life." So if I keep myself healthy, guess what? I can enjoy what I'm doing, and then I don't have to waste my money trying to regain my health. So the answer to your question is start now and
exactly.
just get into it right now. Make little steps. Don't worry about how great I look. Don't worry about those things. Start focusing on your health. The byproduct of focusing on your health is you'll feel better, you'll look better, and you'll have better quality in life.
Very true. Very true. I really love that. I mean, the quality of life is much, much important. And so, like I was just listening, but you mentioned, and from there, one small thing, it actually, I mean, came to my mind. I was just trying to relate with one of my friend. Uh, so what happens is like, we we think like, okay, it's too late, what I'll do and not like that. But what do you think, like how much of this is really about uh mindset of a muscle, like especially as men get older? Like I really love, like you mentioned about uh, first half of the life or the stage, we do focus on building money, 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 and then we focus on health, health, health. So that money goes for the health itself. But definitely, I definitely wanted to ask here. This is a very I do not want to hurt someone, but definitely this is something which I feel it happens, and this needs to be discussed, talked about, and spread about it. So, like, what happens generally for an average guy or small town guy? So, what happens? We think like, yes, I'll walk into the gym because I have a huge belly. I have to, I mean, get rid of that belly. And what happens is basically they battle with that fat belly, not, but they actually battle with the shame in front of the society. And sometimes that, not sometimes, I believe that is the actual real fight for few. So believing, I mean, worth showing up for. So what do you think on this?
No, it's a great question. And here's the thing too. I have had people that start with me in their 60s training.
Mm,
And
yeah.
so what you said is so I can totally elaborate on that. So people
Mhm.
think, "Oh, I have this big belly, so I'm gonna go into the gym and I'm going to work out and the belly's gonna go away. I'm gonna do a bunch of sit-ups and the belly's." It doesn't work. It doesn't
Yeah.
work because here's why. Because your belly, it's like any other muscle. So, you know, you can do 1,000 sit-ups, it's not gonna make any difference, and they think, "Oh, I'm burning fat." No, that's not fat that you're burning when you do abs, it's called lactic acid, and lactic acid causes the burn. Now, here's the other thing that is a big false, a false narrative. The false part is more exercise means I'm gonna burn fat. That is simply not true, especially as you get older, because then what people try to do, what men try to do is they try to go in there like, "Oh, I'm gonna exercise. I'm gonna walk on the treadmill for an hour a
Mhm.
day, and then I'm gonna work out for an hour a day." That lowers your testosterone level. That doesn't raise it. And so belly fat has 99% to do with how much food you eat. Exercise doesn't burn that many calories. It is
Yeah.
super important to understand that we need exercise because we have to build muscle. But body fat levels, stomach size is caused by how much food you eat. So what you have to do is you have to create a calorie deficit. I give diet outlines in the book. I explain exactly how to do that. And then what you do is you train your overall body to increase your muscle mass. Once you do that, then you will kick up what's called your BMR, your basal metabolic rate, and you'll burn more calories while doing nothing. Because your muscle takes calories to keep it going. And so the system that I set it up, it's very efficient, but I set it up for a reason like that. The more efficient we can be, less time and energy we waste. Most people will go into the gym, they'll just
Mhm.
get a random trainer who, unfortunately, personal trainers are not regulated. So they got them coming in the gym 5 days a week for an hour at a time, which I call a part-time job. I don't have time for any of that kind of stuff. And then they're paying exorbitant amounts of money and they're not getting the results they're after. So for me, it's
Mhm.
like, listen, just narrow this down. Now, if people need an online trainer and they need a coach, yeah, I do those things, but I start them off with the book and say, hey, let's go from there. And then if you want to up the level, then we can up the level. But for now, let's just start here and make these little adjustments. And you'll notice such a huge difference in the middle of how it works. And so specifically knowing what to do and why you're doing what you're doing is important. That way you're not wasting time. Does all that make sense? I think
Makes sense. Definitely.
yeah,
Definitely makes sense. Yeah.
awesome.
Lovely. And also, one more thing is like we often go to the gym, yes, for strength, definitely. But uh, we know like strength is not just about the physical. Physical, yes, definitely physical strength, muscles, everything. But for man who's listening right now, or maybe listening, who's going through mental health challenges like burnout, feeling stuck, uh, overwork, and corporate job, what does that strength look like for him as on date? I mean, right now, the scenarios.
I can speak to it. I know exactly what you mean. Here's the number one problem we have. The number one problem we have as men is we have the social social media. And so what you see is you see these guys on social media, "Oh, look at this guy, he's jacked and he's making all this money." You're with me, right? You understand that, right?
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
the thing about it is that that's simply not the thing is that is not a reachable goal for normal people. And so my thing is stop comparing yourself to other people, just compare yourself to yourself. We're running our own race. I'm not running your race, you're not running my race. But what we can do is we can be better at the race that we run. So the first thing to do is take a step back and look at what's going on in your life. If you're
Mm,
overly stressed, if you're trying to, you just keep striving and striving to get better and to make more, and then you're depressed and you're burnt out because it's not happening. Take a step back from that, reassess where you're at and where you're going. Stop looking at others.
mm,
Sometimes you might have to even delete your social media to have some mental health. I find that social media is the most challenging thing for mental health for most people, especially for men when you see all these things out there. For me, I've had to, and I'm 64 now. So I've had to kind of step away and say, I can't do what I did before, but I can
mm.
challenge myself to do better than I did based on me, not on anyone else. And so I still do jujitsu, I still train, but I can't beat the young guys anymore. I'm getting older. That's perfectly okay. It helps me
Yeah.
mentally, it helps me physically, and I can get better at what I do and I measure myself against myself in the middle of that. So sometimes you step back, you look at it, you go, wait, I'm working way too many hours. I'm sick. I'm burnt out. You might have to just look at that. And I'm a praying person. I pray all the time. Sometimes you just have to ask for wisdom. God, give me wisdom in the middle of this. Which direction should I go from here? And I promise you, God will give you the answer and you'll start looking at things differently. You'll have a little more peace in your life. You'll lower the bar and you'll be able to live a joyful life and you'll have better relationships because life simply isn't about just
Yeah.
making money. It's about interacting with people.
Very true. I really love that. I really, really love that. And um, so this thing maybe sounds provocative, but it's not. But uh, I do not want to quote any brand or something, but definitely this is just for general. Like, sometimes what happens, society or maybe the advertisements uh, profits of men's insecurities,
Yeah.
right? Like six pack abs, shredded abs. So,
Yeah.
I mean, which portrays that okay, man means you need to have a six pack ab, you have a shredded physique and all. But cut to the actual scenario. How do we help men or maybe the young men generally? What happens, like, because of the adrenaline rush, it starts from that young age. So how do we help men redefine what fit and strong actually means, or beyond the mirror? So
Yeah.
what do you think?
So if I'm gonna sell something online, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get in the best shape possible for one day. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some pictures and I'm gonna get my lighting perfect. I'm gonna get my angles perfect. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hold those pictures and then I'm gonna put those pictures online. Now, I don't look like that right now. I look like that for one day, but that's what sells. And so what they're doing is they're selling you a lie. Here's the second thing.
Mm,
The second thing is most of those guys are very genetically gifted or they're on
yeah.
performance enhancing drugs. Testosterone is a very big thing. There's ways that you can naturally increase testosterone. Zinc is a big factor. Proper weight training is a big factor. Getting enough sleep, which is the most misunderstood thing for men because we're overworkers. Vitamin D,
Mm,
those types of things make a difference. So, what my suggestion is compare yourself to you, not to them, because they're going to sell you something. You're going to look at it, you're going to go, there's no way I can do this. What I have tried to do with this is I've tried to create a lifestyle of fitness. And what I mean by that is what we're going to look at, I have it as an 8-week program. We're going to lose some body fat in that 8 weeks, but I want you to keep going from there. Now, Vic, what happens is we can rise up the ladder and we can get to about right here and we can stay there. But let's say, hey, I have a wedding or I have a vacation and I want to push it and try to get in the best shape of my life. I'm like, yeah, you could
Yeah.
do that. There's ways to do that. And it's doable. I've done it myself before, but you can't live there. You can visit it. And then you have to understand you're going to come back down and level off again. So I just look at that. I say, get in the best shape you can, maintain that shape for as long as you can, and then if you want, like, I wanna do a summer shred program, that's where you can reach out to me and I can individualize those things and show people how to do that. And so once you start at a certain point and we get there, that's where I wanna be, but I don't wanna say, "Hey, I can live at this, area," because no one else is living there, they're just making that up. And, that now there might be your top 1 or 2% that are just genetically gifted, and that's a different story, but most of us are just average people, and then, once they set that standard, we're shooting for the stars, but we can't reach it, and so it becomes very frustrating,
Mm.
and that's how they make money from you. The biggest thing in the fitness industry is it's a moneymaker, and when you have an influencer out there, they gotta make things up to keep you coming back to their site so they can sell you most more stuff. So, I think you just have to have the realistic expectations and knowing what you can and cannot do.
Mm. Exactly. I really love that. And I think that's the conversation we needed to have. And where strength is actually the tool for life. It's not the kind of look for any of the platforms. So,
Also, yeah,
exactly. Lovely.
absolutely.
So, Steve, I mean, this is such an inspiring conversation. I have to say, I think every guy who is listening feels like a little stronger, a little more hopeful, and
Mm.
mentally strong, definitely, and a little more fired up to take that next step.
I love it. Yeah, yep. So very cool. So yeah, the book's on Amazon. It's the Gospel of Fitness. People can reach out to me. They can look for an Instagram. I'm Steve McKinney Fitness. YouTube. I'm Steve McKinney Fitness. And my website is fitnessandmore.net. And they can contact me through that as well.
Amazing, amazing. So, dear listeners, if you are listening right now, I wanted you to remember that strength isn't about how much, how much you can lift. It's all about how well you show up for your life, your own life, whether it's 5 push ups or it's 5 minutes of prayer, it actually counts. So,
Absolutely.
make sure to check out Steve's book. I'll mention in the show notes the links. I'll put it in the show notes. The Gospel of Fitness, and follow him at the Fitness and More Incorporation. And as mentioned, I'll put all the links. And as always, guys, keep lifting, keep living, and keep loving. This is Mind Over Masculinity with your host Avik. Until next time, stay strong inside and out. So, thank you so much.
Thank you.